So I thought I would fill you in on everything that has happened since we got back from our trip. We returned from Italy on November 12th, 2019, and on November 26th, I was diagnosed with cancer. Ocular melanoma, to be exact, hence the glasses. So we took about a week to kind of just unpack, decompress from our trip, and actually find where the heck there was an eye doctor, because we were staying at Justin's parents' house and we didn't really know like where the closest one was. And one day Justin went on a bike ride by himself and he came back and he was like, hey, so I rode right past an eye doctor's and I stopped in and asked if they had any open appointments, and they actually have one tomorrow. If they said if you called them tonight that they could set it up. So he got their card and I called and set up an appointment for the next day. So I go in for an eye exam, and keep in mind I've never really had an eye exam before besides just like read the bottom line just to see if you can read. I've always had 20/20 vision. So I go in. I was really impressed because they started off by asking my symptoms, but then they immediately started taking pictures of my eyeballs, which was insane. Like, they had the most modern, like, up-to-date stuff in there, and this is just like your corner mom and pop eye doctor, like nothing special. You could tell that we've been living abroad in developing countries for a really long time, because I was like floored and insanely impressed, and they were just like, this is what eye doctors places look like. So yeah, they took a bunch of pictures of my eye, and then the doctor came in, talked to me, and he showed us, Justin came with me, so he showed us the pictures, and they had actually taken some pictures of the back of my eyeball, and he said, so I have some bad news. And we're like, okay. And he said, you have a retinal detachment. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not crazy. Like, there was something wrong with my eye. So he said, retinal detachments, they do require surgery to fix. But it turned out that he was a front of the eye doctor, and a retinal detachment occurs in the back of your eye, so he couldn't treat it himself. He said that retinal detachments are caused generally by a tear that lets fluid in and causes the retina to detach, but he couldn't see a tear in my images. And he said it could be just that, like, it's not showing up in the images, just like where the tear is at, I can't see it, but something doesn't look right, he said. Like, there's a lot of pigmentation in it, which is not normal for just a regular retinal detachment. So he referred me to a retina specialist, and he got me an appointment there the next day. So the next day we go into the retina specialist. They take even more different types of photos of the back of my eye. And then the doctor comes in and he looks in the back of my eye, which apparently they can do when your eye is dilated. They take, like, I don't know if it's a magnifying glass thing and a light, and they shine it in your eye, and they can actually like see all the way into the back of your eye. The first question that the doctor asked me after he had like thoroughly looked at my eye was, how's your health been? And I thought that was a really strange question. I was like, I'm just in here for an eye problem. And I was kind of like, it's been great. Like, we just got back from an 8-month-long trip riding our bicycle from Thailand to Italy. Like, felt great the whole time, no problems, in really good shape. Like, nothing's wrong with my health. I feel great. So he was like, oh, good. And then he came out and said, well, this looks like a melanoma. And Justin and I were kind of like, excuse me? Like, a melanoma, like skin cancer? Because I don't know about you, but that's the only kind of melanoma that I've ever heard of. And he said, no. It's not skin cancer. It's melanoma of the eye. So ocular melanoma. And he's like, this is what I think. And so of course we started asking him questions, And he's like, honestly, I don't know. He said he only sees about one of these a year. And so he referred us to a specialist at Duke University Hospital. And these guys are the best of the best. He said they're always full. They're probably going to want you to wait, but I'm going to tell them that this needs to be seen right away. So he got us an appointment for early the next week. So we saw the retina specialist on a Thursday, and he got us in to see an ocular melanoma or an eye tumor specialist at Duke on the next Tuesday. So just like 5 days later. So of course we go home and we get on the Google, because who wouldn't start Googling things when they tell you that you have ocular melanoma, which is something that I didn't even know existed until that day. So we Google it. I honestly didn't spend too much time on the internet, because when it comes to medical things, the internet can be a really scary place, and I just didn't even want to go there. Do not go down that rabbit hole. Don't open that can of worms. Whatever metaphor you want to use, just don't do it. So I looked up some basic things about ocular melanoma, and then just kind of waited until our appointment on Tuesday. So Tuesday comes, they took all the pictures again, we got to see the doctor, and he confirmed, yes, this is ocular melanoma. And then he proceeded to tell us what the treatment options were, how he was going to treat my particular tumor, what the size of the tumor was, all that kind of stuff. So basically it turned out that the original eye doctor who said I had a retinal detachment, that was true, but the retinal detachment was caused by this tumor that was back there. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, like, is this from your trip? And I kind of course I was wondering that too. The doctor said there's absolutely nothing that I did or could ever do to cause this type of cancer. It had nothing to do with our trip. It has nothing to do with sun exposure. Just because melanoma is in the name, it actually has nothing to do with the skin cancer called melanoma. Melanoma really, it made a lot of sense to me when I thought about it, but melanoma is just melanin cancer, and melanin is pigment. It makes sense that your eye has color in it, that's pigment, and so it makes sense that you could get melanoma in your eye. I just had never even heard of it. And it turns out that I had never heard of it for a very good reason, because apparently this is a very rare kind of cancer. It only affects like 3 in a million people in the general population of all ages. I'm only 28, so for this kind of cancer to affect me at my age, the odds are more like 1 in a million, which just, I mean, mind blown. Like, that is crazy. And I guess you could say that I'm super unlucky, but at the same time, it's kind of been the only upside to this whole thing, because I get to legitimately say that I am 1 in a million. I'm not quite sure how many people get to say that, but it's probably not many. So, you know, silver linings.